Black Friday is over and you bought yourself new effects and plugins, maybe because you didn't believe it's possible to create such a beat with just a single synthesizer. I'm not here to brag, but probably you are here to learn more about Serum or to just become a better producer, so let me tell you, you already have all the gear necessary for making great tracks. What you need now is the knowledge, and in the first part of this tutorial series we will make this kick drum in Serum synthesizer only. Looking for more quality Serum presets? Join a free contest and win my Rave Techno Serum preset pack. With over 40 fully customizable presets, MIDI melodies and percussion samples, you will be on a fast track to producing mesmerizing techno. See more details on my drillmusic.com/RTR free website. Every synthesized kick drum is built on the same key foundation, that is, modulating the pitch and volume and time. If we look at the waveform of a typical 9/9 kick, we will see the kick is much louder in the beginning than in the end. Let's look at the frequency spectrum of this kick. In the beginning, the loudest is the frequency area of 150 Hz. The pitch of the sound drops quickly, and in the end, the frequency of 63 Hz dominates. Knowing this, I can start making a kick in Serum. I begin with a sine wave. I create a MIDI clip with a rhythmic pattern. It's time to create both pitch and volume modulation. In many other tutorials, envelopes are used, but LFOs give greater control over any modulation. Besides, I will show you a trick a bit later that you simply can't do with envelopes. Let's start with the pitch modulation. The chorus control allows for gradual pitch change. Unlike the octave, semitone and fine controls that change the pitch in steps. I drag the LFO tile towards the chorus to assign the modulation. Currently, the modulation works in this way. The chorus value, that is 0, is placed in the middle of the modulation range that I adjust by dragging a blue halo. On the bottom, we have the lowest, and on the top, the highest pitch we can achieve with this modulation curve. If I increase the modulation range, I simultaneously change both the lowest and highest pitch. This is how does a bidirectional modulation works. Let's return to the 9/9 kick frequency spectrum for a second and assume I would like my kick to start from the 150 Hz and drop to 63 Hz as well. With bidirectional modulation, we can imagine how difficult would be to achieve this. So, I go back to the modulated chorus control and click it with left Alt and Shift keys held. This changes the modulation type to unidirectional. Now the modulation reminds of envelopes. The lowest achievable pitch is simply set with the chorus itself. The highest achievable pitch is set by extending the modulation range. The modulation range is set, but we have to adjust the modulation curve. I increase the grid size and move the points with left Alt key held. This makes points snap to the grid. To create new points, I double click the area. And that's the modulation I'm interested in. In the exact same way, I use the second LFO to control the volume of our sine wave. This will give our kick more attack. It's time to alter the waveform in the oscillator A. Having a more complex wavetable with more harmonics will make the kick richer without using distortion. I would advise sticking to only the analog category. Having hundreds of other wavetables doesn't change anything because you will still have plenty of options to shape your kick. I don't need a very crispy kick, so a mini bass wavetable will be a good choice. I will only adjust the wavetable position knob. The best way to enhance that sound will be the distortion. I go to the effects section and add the appropriate unit. At first, I crank up the drive and switch between various distortion algorithms to pick a desired sound. I like the diode do algorithm, so what I do now is I adjust the drive control. If you like the character of distortion but you think it's a bit too much, instead of dialing down the drive, turn down the mix knob a bit. I want the kick to be brighter or cleaner, a bit deeper, and for sure I want to suppress mid frequencies. It sounds like I could try equalizing the kick, but I want to leave this effect for more precise adjustments. Besides, I know there is an effect that will give me a much better sound than just an equalizer. If you watch me for a while, you know I'm talking about the multiband compressor. This compressor, even with default settings, makes the kick more crispy. I can make this effect even more intense once I bring down the threshold. Usually the ratio here doesn't change anything, but in the case of this kick sound it influences a bit the amount of bass. Time-based controls, so the attack and release, work best with plug sounds, or modulated bass sounds with or without the reverb. Our bass sound is modulated too, so we can expect some changes when adjusting both controls. For example, increasing the release cuts away that annoying high end from the kick. The gain knob drives the signal and, if large enough, gives another kind of distortion. The last thing to adjust is now the volume levels of high, mid and low frequencies. In the end, for precise control, I will use the equalizer. In the kick, I can hear a muddy sound that sits somewhere in the 170 Hz area. I set the first band to be the bell filter, turn up the Q quite a lot, and turn down the gain a lot. For now, our job is to sweep the frequency control and find the troublesome area we need to cut. We could pinpoint the troublesome frequency in the Vox & Go span, but doing this manually will train your ears more. This is a good place for the filter, and now I will set the amount of attenuation and in the end the filter bandwidth. Setting the filter to be wide will eat away bass, so I will keep the filter narrow. The second filter will boost the high end more. Instead of a bell filter, I will pick a shelf one to affect bigger range of frequencies. Besides that, I repeat all the steps I did when cutting the 130 Hz area. A few minutes ago I told you about a trick I can pull off with LFOs but not with envelopes. I will loop a single MIDI note and open the Serum. When we look at both LFOs, we can see that each modulation cycle, like our looped MIDI note, lasts a single beat. That is because the LFO rate is set to 1/4 of the bar. I can simulate the stutter or glitch effect by increasing these rate controls on both LFOs. To make the beat more interesting, both LFO rates are automated in Ableton. The first kick sound is made, but we could have a fuller sound. This is noticeable especially when we played the kick with other sounds. The solution is to create a synth that will support our kick and complement it. What we will do now is called synth layering. I will duplicate the kick channel and readjust some of the Serum parameters. I want the kick layer to sound muffled and I want it to fill mid-frequencies more. I will start with turning off the equalizer and multiband compressor that did the exact opposite to the main kick sound. Now I want to trash the sound and add lots of resonance. For that, let's use the filter section. Most of the times we think of filters as a way to cut low or high frequencies or as something that sounds cool when modulated. The MISC category though contains some unusual filter types. For example, both scream low pass and scream band pass are great substitution of distortion. We make sure the oscillator A is routed to the filter and let's play the kick. Both cutoff and resonance knobs work just as in any other low-pass filter. Where's the distortion? It's hidden inside both drive and scream knobs. The drive knob is mandatory. It amplifies the kick volume and adds overdrive to the sound. With enough drive, the scream knob that is self-explanatory will not work. Add to these two knobs our cutoff and resonance controls and you can play around for a while. I will adjust this filter now. Let's set the volume of this layer with the master volume knob to blend this layer with the main kick. The kick is better, but the bass has gone somewhere. Also, we would like to have more dynamic and rhythmic sound. The resulting kick sound seems to have weak low end because without any extra filtering, we let the low frequencies from both main kick and kick layer interfere. The solution is to remove the low end from our kick layer. In the effects section, I will use the filter and set the type to a high pass one. I will adjust the cutoff frequency control. Notice how does the kick becomes tighter. What we have to do yet is to enhance the rhythm. I will use the third LFO to automate the volume of the kick layer. I can't modulate the master volume knob, but if I click the mix label and the filter effect, I will discover another volume control. Because this control is after all the effects, it's a good place for a LFO. I will set the volume modulation range and draw an automation curve. This will end our kick drum creation. And again, for more quality sounds like that one, visit my preset pack website, join the free contest by downloading the demo pack, and win the full product at the day of its premiere.